Welcome back. So many people have asked me to either live stream or to record the seminars that I'm doing here at Silicon Dojo in our Asheville classroom. The issue that I have is after being on YouTube and being a content creator now for 12 years, I find that the camera is much more of a door than it is a mirror. There's this concept that a camera is simply a mirror that reflects what is going on in front of it. What I found, I can't tell you the science behind it, I can't tell you the philosophy that goes into it, but there is something that actually comes out of the camera. I send my image and my voice into it, and something creeps back out from the other side. I know that sounds like metaphysical or something, and I can't tell you the science behind it, but after 12 years I can say there's something more going on to all of this than a lot of us want to give it credit for. So I do not want to either record nor live stream the actual live presentations that I do here in Silicon Dojo, because I want the people that are in the classroom to feel comfortable. I want them to be able to ask the questions that they want to ask, and I don't want whatever it is over there creeping into the class when I'm doing this in front of my students. So what I have decided to do, since I have a full slide deck for all of these presentations I'm doing live, is hey, what if I do something along the lines of a director's cut afterwards? Once I've done the presentation, I will just come and actually record the presentation that I previously did and add in some notes and add in some things to think about for the folks out there that may want to do their own presentation going into the future. And so that is what we are doing today. I did a presentation yesterday on how to be a YouTuber that went over relatively well here, and that's the presentation that we are now going to be doing. I decided to do the video or the presentation on how to be a YouTuber simply because I'm trying to get more interest in Silicon Dojo here in Asheville. One of the problems that you run into whenever you're trying to sell a product or service is that if people don't understand what your product or service is, it's really hard to get them into the door. If I do presentations about Raspberry Pi, which I've done, IoT, Arduino, those types of things, I do get some people in the door, but not a whole lot, because a lot of people don't even know what the hell a Raspberry Pi is. So if I can do something like how to be a YouTuber, or somebody that has 12 years experience being a YouTuber, I can get people in the door. Once they're in the door, they see the classroom, they learn a little bit about what Raspberry Pis and the whole 9 yards are, and this is actually a form of doing advertising. So this is the type of seminar you might think about doing for your Silicon Dojo, right? If you are a professional developer, do a seminar on how to become a developer. If you're a professional engineer, how to become an engineer. If you're a professional, whatever else, think about doing a few presentations simply on the modern world, the modern reality of whatever your profession is, and you might be able to get more people in the door because they're interested about that concept, and then once they're in, then you can try to sell them on the concept of something like a Silicon Dojo. So that's the basic idea here. A couple of things that I did realize doing this presentation yesterday is one, when you talk about how to be a YouTuber, you might get kids in your class. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, a dad came with his 2 kids, and when I say kids, one of them was 10 and one of them was 11, and so if anybody has followed me for any length of time, I have a bit of a salty mouth. Not only a salty mouth, but, I say things that can be rather disturbing to some people, and I then had a cute little 11-year-old girl literally looking at me last night. So, something to be thinking about when you do these presentations is whether they're appropriate for all ages, and if they're not appropriate for all ages, can you modify them very quickly to be appropriate for all ages? Just one of those things to think about there. The other thing that I found too is that this presentation, I actually created 43 slides. 43 slides for how to be a YouTuber, and that was too damn long. Too long, by far. We were here, 2+ hours, so with questions, with other things going on, it took well over 2 hours to go through this presentation, and that was too long for a meetup on a Thursday night. So one of the things that I've realized is for hour-and-a-half meetups, I will cap the number of slides that I do at probably about 15. Like 15, it might be a little faster, it might be a little longer, but we'll definitely get it in at under an hour and a half. That's the type of thing that you have to figure out with your presentation style, how quickly can you go through your slide deck? And if you got 43 slides, you're probably not going to get through it in under an hour and a half. So one of those, lessons learned, something to think about. So basically we start off with this, how to be a YouTuber. And again, when you're watching this, this was actually done on May 27th, 2021. So there may be some differences, from when I did this to whenever it is that you're watching, as far as stats and how things are going on in the YouTube world. So the first thing here that I tell everybody is one of the big problems with YouTube, and one of the big problems when you want to become a YouTuber, is that it's all a lie. Everybody that you're going to talk to in the YouTube world, just realize that they're lying to you. If you understand that they're lying to you, everything will go much easier. One of the problems that I have, as I've talked about before, I'm an Aspie. One of the issues with how Aspie's brains work is apparently we just don't. It's hard for us to lie. There's some mental process that takes a lot of energy when people lie, and so for many Aspies, it's actually a difficult process to lie. And so when I came to the YouTube world, I just didn't expect everybody to be lying. And the reality is everybody's lying. The content creators are lying. The viewers are lying. The YouTube itself is lying. Sponsors are lying. Essentially, everybody you're dealing with is lying for any number of reasons. A lot of them actually go back to psychology. One of my things when I came to the YouTube world is I was actually a full-fledged adult once I started doing creating any kind of content. I was 33 years old by the time I turned a camera on for the first time. And even when I did turn a camera on for the first time, I originally decided to create videos for my own platform. So I wanted to be like a CBT Nugget. I didn't even know what CBT Nuggets was back then. That's how long ago this was. But CBT Nuggets, INE, that type of thing, that's what I wanted to do. I never had this idea of becoming a YouTube star and didn't even know what that meant, right? So for myself, I had been in the military, I had a college degree, I was married, I had a house, I had dogs, I had a business, I had all of this stuff. When I came to the video world and then the YouTube world, this is just an additional thing, to put on the resume on a long list of things that I have done. The issue that you run into, though, when you start dealing with most YouTube content creators is if you really want to feel sad, if you really want to grab a box of Kleenex and feel bad for humanity, go to YouTube and search for Draw My Life. What you're going to find if you do this is a lot of YouTubers, this was a popular thing to do a number of years ago, is they use a whiteboard and they draw out what their life was like. And for many, many YouTubers, their lives were horrible. Oh my God, it was bad. Like, you watch these Draw My Life videos, and they're like, this is when my parents got divorced, and this is when I was abused, and this is when I was gonna be suicidal. And it's like 20 years. It's just 20 years of misery, right? And then at some point, with almost all these Draw My Lives, and then I found YouTube. And they found YouTube, and then they started playing video games or doing whatever else, and they became popular, and they started making a lot of money, and they started to become successful on YouTube. And the weird thing is, this is, for a lot of these folks, their only claim to fame. They had really miserable lives all the way up until they became successful on YouTube. And so one of the issues you have when you try to talk to many YouTubers or try to figure out reality is, remember, their entire ego is invested in this crappy ass platform. And so a lot of times they're not going to be horribly honest with you, because if they are honest with you, they don't have a lot to fall back on. Again, as creating Silicon Dojo here, I've been on YouTube for 12 years, been doing videos for 12 years, things are falling apart on YouTube, I'm going on to the next part of my career. Just you go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. You have a lot of folks that they got to this and they have no idea what to do next. And not only that, but think about this. If you're homeless, if you're having a miserable life, and then you stumble into YouTube and you're making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and you're not even really sure why you're doing it, it can be hard. It can be very difficult to think about what to do next. Who in God's name is going to pay you that much money for whatever qualifications you have? So a lot of the YouTubers that you deal with, you'll just deal with a lot of lies. Again, people talking about passion, people talking about things that aren't necessarily reality. It just makes them feel better. The viewers will also lie to you. For some reason, viewers come to YouTube for validation. A lot of folks nowadays are essentially modern age shut-ins. They don't have a lot of outside relationships. They do not feel love in the normal way most of us feel love, and they come to YouTube for whatever reason. When they come to YouTube, create some kind of psychological bond with them that is absolutely and utterly not healthy, but it is real. And so one of the problems you get to is with a lot of the viewers, they lie. They lie about what they want. They lie about what they feel. They lie about so many things. There's one YouTuber I know, Louis Rossman, and we communicate back and forth every once in a while. And one of the things that we laugh about is that we are told by our viewers the types of content that we need to do, and then nobody watches that content. Everybody will say, this is the content you need to do. And then you look at the stats and like literally nobody watches that content, which is very frustrating. It's like, so you're not going to admit to the content that you watch. It's like the whole idea, like nobody watches porn. Like porn is this weird industry where nobody watches it, and yet billions and billions and billions of dollars are made. Right? Kind of same thing with viewers on YouTube. They don't want to admit to what they actually want, and so they say some really weird things, and then when you're trying to figure out what it is you need to do, again, you're dealing with liars. People consuming your content that are lying about what they actually want and need. And then you have YouTube itself. YouTube, I think, is a disaster. I honestly believe YouTube is going to burn in. I think it's going to be the largest startup failure in the history of startups. I don't think the numbers work. Again, I built my own infrastructure years ago. I understand a lot about resource consumption and cost for these kind of resources and all that kind of thing. And I legitimately don't think YouTube works. Like, to the bottom of my soul, I don't think YouTube works as a business. And so you have a lot of stuff going on in the YouTube world where, like, they pretend to be successful, but at the exact same time they pretend to be successful, they're pushing through a lot of policies that are kind of shooting everybody in the foot, right? And you run into a lot of issues there. And so one of the things to realize if you're going to get into the YouTube world is just simply everybody lies. If you get that everybody is lying to you, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to figure out what's going on. So just one of those things to keep in mind. One of the things people ask is, can you make money on YouTube? That's a big question. I don't know. I mean, can you actually make any money off this thing? This is a crappy video that I did in the fall. Really garbage video. Truly a garbage video. A CNN analyst masturbates on a Zoom call, Jeffrey Toobin. Let me tell you, last night when I was doing this particular bit, with an 11-year-old girl looking at me. Oh, that was fun. Anyways, do you know what masturbate means, little girl? So something to think about when you're picking out your slides. Anyway, right? So this particular video I did about 5 minutes of research in order to do this video. It took about 11 minutes, so it's an 11-minute video, which means it took me about 12 minutes to create. So for about 25 minutes of my time, this particular video, if you go over and take a look on the, whatever that side is for you, it made about $1,035. So this is not my biggest video by any stretch of the imagination, but this kind of just shows you, what videos can earn, kind of right now in this current time frame. So yes, YouTube can talk about CNN analysts masturbating, and you may make $1,000 for 20 minutes of your time. There is a lot of money in this. Again, when we talk about people like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, PewDiePie, the whole 9 yards, these are multi-millionaires. Most of that money is coming from YouTube. I think PewDiePie years ago, they did a bio on him or whatever, and it was like 5 years ago he was making like $17 million a year off of YouTube alone. That was YouTube ad revenue alone. So yes, you can make money here. So what is my story then? How did I wind up getting into the YouTube world? Again, for my generation, YouTube, we didn't even know about the internet, my generation. I graduated in 1994, so the internet was kind of sort of a thing, but, it like existed. It's one of those things, it existed. Or it's kind of like quantum computers. I'm sure 20 years from now, people are going to be making $1 gazillion off of quantum computers. It's going to be a pretty normal thing. Right now, it's like, yeah, quantum computers, they exist. Same thing for me, internet in 1994. Like, it existed, but who the hell cares? I'm going to go off and do something useful. Anyways, I started in tech in 1996 in the Army, actually down in Augusta, Georgia. I went through AIT, went through the longest, one of the longest electronics repair programs I had down there. Wound up winding in the corporate world. I flew all over the country repairing a lot of stuff back when I was like 23 years old during the dot-com boom. Went off, created a consulting company, actually built that company up to nine full-time employees, had a pretty nice little building down in Baltimore, Maryland, all the way up until the recession happened. I had zigged when I should have zagged, had some other issues with that particular business, and when the recession hit us in 2009, I just figured it was better to close up shop rather than go bankrupt. We were going to close one way or the other. I could either close with money in my bank account, or I could close bankrupt. I decided to close with money in my bank account. Always remember, if you know you're going downhill, it's better to leave before you lose everything. Anyways, I wound up after that. It was like, I don't like employees. I don't want to deal with all this kind of stuff anymore. I want to be Eli, the computer guy. I want to be like the super brain for doing computer stuff. So I decided I was going to go get my master's degree and go get my PhD. So I had enough money in the bank, the whole 9 yards. Like, I'm going to spend the next few years getting my master's degree, getting my PhD, so that I can become Eli, the computer guy. I was then sitting in a college, my master's degree college class. That was a joke. It was so bad with the students in this class. So this is a master's level. This isn't a 200 level. This isn't a 300. This is a master's level course. We were supposed to be, for one of our projects, we were supposed to be designing some kind of like database infrastructure for like a hospital or something like that. And I remember looking at one of my fellow students, and I was talking to him about, how we were supposed to design the infrastructure for a master's level IT class. And I was like, well, I don't know. Should I create the system so that there's replication, like some kind of cluster? Should I do virtualization? Should I do a cluster within virtualization? And I was just sitting there pondering, like, basically, how much time and energy do I want to put into a paper for a class, right? And the fellow student looked at me, and he had no idea what I was talking about. He didn't know what virtualization was. He didn't know what clustering was. He didn't know what replication was. He was completely lost. Important thing to understand, master's level IT program. Anyway, so one night after that, I was sitting there in the class, and the professor was talking about whatever the subject was that night, and you could tell he was bored. His eyes were glassed over. He was just reading through his notes. He didn't give a damn. I then looked around at all the students that were around me, and none of them gave a damn. And then I looked down at my book. And so I was going through this master's degree program 6-7 months after I closed down my business, and I was looking at this book, and I had just hired 9 full-time tech employees. And I did not give a darn about any of the information that I was learning. There was no part of that book where it's like, oh, if only my employees had known that, then I was like, wait a minute. We're all just sitting here for a piece of paper. He's sitting there trying to get his paycheck. These people are trying to get their pieces of paper. And none of this has anything to do with actual education. So I had this amazing idea back in 2009. What if we did on-demand streaming video classes? Again, you have to remember in 2009, it's not like it is today. YouTube was not a household word. Being a YouTuber or a Twitch person, a Let's Play, or any of this was not anything anybody understood. YouTube at that time was actually pretty garbage, even on their basic level, with buffer to high hell and back. So when I had this idea, it was actually a pretty novel, new, fancy thing. So basically I created Everyman IT, the initial iteration of my video company back in 2009, built my own video streaming servers, built my own web servers, put it into a co-location facility, and got the thing going. The problem that I ran into at that point is that people did not want to pay for anything that was online, any kind of video that was online, they simply did not want to pay for. And back then, resource costs were huge. So I had to pay $100 per month per U for a server, which wasn't too bad. So, one U servers, $100 per one of those per month. But then it was $100 per 1 megabit per second concurrent connection. So if you figure a high definition stream is 3 megabits per second, I had to pay $300 per month per concurrent stream, basically video stream. Where if you start to do the numbers on that, you start to do the math on resource consumption and cost, that gets ridiculous really quick. So after about 1.5 years or so, trying to get this thing to work out, I realized, oops, the model doesn't work. The model doesn't work. Maybe it will someday. It doesn't work right now, right? So anyways, I was shutting everything down. I went to go be a consultant again, so I decided I was going to go back to the consulting world. I could make money doing a consultant. I had all these videos trying to figure out what to do with them, and basically right at that time YouTube, so this was about 2011, YouTube sent me an email and said, hey, you've been on our platform for 2 years as a creator, you haven't violated any copyright things, so you can put long form content onto YouTube. So I had 100 or so 30 to 90 minute videos that if they didn't go somewhere, they essentially were going to go in the trash. YouTube was offering to host them for free, and so I thought, hey, you know what I'll do? I'll throw these onto YouTube. I'll then, when I have a customer, when I have a client, and they ask, hey, why should I hire you? I'll just say, hey, look at my YouTube channel, right? If you want a surveillance system, you can see the 10 classes on surveillance systems. You want a telephone system, you can see the 5 classes on telephone systems. You decide if I'm smart enough to work for you, right? Figured it's a good way for doing advertising at least, you know, get some value out of that asset that I had already created. And then I went off to do consulting. So I was off and I was doing consulting, dealing with clients, the whole 9 yards. In August of that year then, so that was February, August of 2011, YouTube came to me and basically they sent me an email and they said, hey, you haven't violated any other rules, so you are now allowed to monetize your videos. I, like many people at that time period, were like, whatever. Whatever. Alright, because at that point, in order to monetize your videos, what you had to do is every single video, you actually had to go to the video, you had to check off that you were allowed to make money off of it, you had to say that you owned the rights to everything that was in the video, then you actually had to write an individual paragraph for every frickin' video to say why you should be able to make money off of it. Right, so I had over 100 videos. So for me to monetize all 100 videos, it was going to be a day's worth of work. Again, my thought back in 2011, what, I'm going to do a day's worth of work for like 20 bucks a month? Who the hell cares? Ooh, money on YouTube, how much is that going to be? So anyways, I just left it. I just left it for like 3 weeks. Really, honestly didn't care. It was like, whatever. Then after 3 weeks, I just had a down day. I had one of those, you know, when you're doing consulting, you know, just one of those just down days that you have. I was looking at this email again, I was looking at my YouTube videos, and I thought, you know what, if I make $100 a month off the videos I have on YouTube, and after a year, that's $1,200, you know, that's worth a day's worth of work. 1,200 bucks, day's worth of work, right? I guess that's a good. You know, the videos are already there, might as well try to make a couple of dollars off of it. So that day, I went through and I monetized all the videos. Just lots of coffee, and lots of clicking off check boxes. Then after that, the first month, so then September, I made like $100, and then in October, I made like $200, and then I think it was like November or something. I actually went to a meetup. I have a video somewhere. I went to this one meetup in Baltimore for startups, and I did a demonstration talking about this YouTube thing I was doing, and it was really funny. Like I have this video where I was sitting there, I was like, yeah, look, I made like $350 last month. Can you believe it? You can actually make a couple of dollars off of this YouTube thing, right? So I made $350, then went to $450, then in December went up to $550. At which point I went to my wife and I said, "Dear, we have a curve. I'm gonna stop consulting and I'm gonna focus on YouTube full time." And she looked at me and she was like, "Great, as long as you don't stop consulting." Yeah, marriage. Anyways, I was like, no, I'm gonna focus on this YouTube thing. I have a curve. And that was fun. Anybody out there that's married, who's been an entrepreneur, can probably figure out the next couple of weeks. Anyways, thankfully for my particular story, in January I made $1,000, like February I made like $3,000, went to $4,000, and it basically just kept going up, and it turned into a real business. So that is basically what my story with YouTube is. And again, the important thing when I talk about YouTube to understand is I never wanted to be a YouTube star. I never got into this for fame or fortune or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just a geek who looked at this technology product and said, hey, maybe I can make some money off of this. I then failed making money off of it, and then wound up making money off of it in a different way. So again, that's one of the reasons why I am quite a bit different than a lot of the other folks on YouTube, is simply because I kind of walked into all this ass backwards, and let's be honest, I walked out of it ass backwards too. So yeah, anywho, so basically the whole question is, how do you earn money on YouTube? There are numerous ways to make money off of YouTube. The one everybody knows is YouTube ad revenue. So every time you watch a video nowadays, you will see a ad before the video, and maybe 20 during the video at this point. Every time you see one of those ads play, the YouTube content creator gets a fraction of a cent. A fraction of a cent times 10, 20, 100, a million views per day ends up being a crap ton of money. There's crowdfunding. One of the ways that you folks are able to be here today. Director's note here. This is one of the ways we remind people how Silicon Dojo is paid for. It's kind of like branding, you just kind of slip it into the conversation. The way that you're here today is because of the people that are funding your seats. This is a way that you can remind them to try to click on the donation button after they go home without shoving it down their throats. Again, one of the things with trying to fund something like Silicon Dojo is you have to remind people that you need money without shoving it down their throats. And that's one of those things. You just slip in every once in a while. It's like branding, right? Anyways. So crowdfunding. So basically, again, how you folks here are able to come to this classroom today. My viewers on YouTube, I have told them about this particular project. They are very generous, and they are actually funding what we're doing. I am getting a chunk of money from my viewers, and this allows me to create programs like I'm doing now today. So a lot of people actually make money off of crowdfunding. Sponsorships. So you put a banner on your video, you do a video about a product, something like that. Sponsors will pay you a chunk of money to do that. Affiliate marketing basically is commission-based marketing. You get people to click on a link and buy a product, you get a commission. Merch, t-shirts, you'll see this now, coffee mugs. Basically, you watch a YouTuber and they've got some kind of branding, you buy one of their products, that comes from a company, they essentially get a 20-30% commission off of whatever that product is. And then random stuff, you can make money for weird things. When you start talking about ad revenue in the YouTube world, basically the two things that you're going to need is 1,000 subscribers. You need 1,000 subscribers to your channel and 4,000 hours viewed per year. Now the important thing, if you go to YouTube and you watch a lot of small YouTubers, they cry about this. It has been so mean. They're forcing us to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours. How am I ever going to do that? What you have to understand is if you're not hitting these stats, it's not worth YouTube writing out the $10.99 for you. Basically, at 4,000 hours viewed per year, that's something like $50, probably. Right? I get my crappy channel, something called the Daily Blog channel, really crappy channel, nobody watches it. I still get like 44,000 hours per month off of that one channel. So if you're not getting 4,000 hours viewed per year on your channel, don't worry about it. Work harder on your channel. Don't worry. When it's worth YouTube actually writing a $10.99 for you, they'll write a $10.99 for you. You get paid by the CPM. What this means is basically it's an auction system in the YouTube world. So whenever that ad shows up on your video, there's a whole little automatic auction system that happens, and whoever wins that auction buys a little ad space. Multiply that by 1,000, and then you get your CPM. CPM in the YouTube world is somewhere between $2 to $20 per CPM, so this is per 1,000 impressions on your video. And this is basically looks at the quality of the video, the quality of the people that are watching your content, and then how valuable it is to the advertisers. So one of the ways that I was able to be very successful with actually small views. So my views have never been huge in YouTube. I maxed out between 1 to 1.5 million views per month, where if you go to YouTube, that has never been the biggest thing out there. But I was doing videos back in the day talking about the OSI model. I was talking about TCP/IP. I was talking about servers. I was talking about high-level technology subjects. And so Cisco and Intel and Dell, when they're trying to sell their products, they don't want to sell. They don't want to try to sell products on makeup tutorials. They don't want to sell products on car tutorials. They want to sell it on computers. So since I had high quality content that was getting high quality eyeballs, I was actually getting significantly more than $20 CPM back in the day. So if your content goes after high quality eyeballs, you can get very high CPM. On the other hand, if your content is going after pretty normal people, you may only get $2 CPM. Again, think about Coke, right? So instead of Cisco or Intel, Coca-Cola. Coke really doesn't care who they're advertising to. Everybody buys a Coke. Right? The janitor buys Coke, the CEO buys Coke, the homeless person buys Coke, and the billionaire buys Coke. The reality is we all buy Coke. So why is Coke going to spend a crap ton of money trying to advertise towards a specific demographic, right? They're just advertising towards anybody. So Coke ads can go on makeup tutorials, and Coke ads can go on computer tutorials, and Coke ads can go on prank videos. So then you're going to be getting about $2 CPM, right? That's where you start dealing with the auction system. And again, for a channel like mine, that's where you get into a weird thing when you talk about actually having successful channels is, yes, I had much fewer views than most successful channels, but my CPM was a hell of a lot bigger. I got fewer views, but I got paid a hell of a lot more for those views. And again, this is something you have to be thinking about in the YouTube world, again, when it comes to business. When you get paid by YouTube, it is a $10.99. Basically, you're just considered a contractor. YouTube doesn't care about you. They don't give you insurance. They don't give you liability protection. Nothing. You are a $10.99 contractor to them. The nice part is they do direct deposit directly into your bank account. And so you have a bank account. You fill out the $10.99. They just dump money into your account every month. And this is where I had kids. And so the issue is when you have kids, you need to have a bank account of some sort. They're not going to send you a check. So you need to figure out how the whole 1099 and bank account thing is going to work. When we think about crowdfunding, so again, crowdfunding is what pays for you folks here. The big one people hear about is Patreon. So Patreon has been around for a long time. Again, this is another startup company that is going to fail at some point. They're currently valued at something like $4 billion. They just got another couple $100 million of funding. And they take a 5% cut, essentially, off of crowdfunding revenue. I'm not sure how that works out. But basically, Patreon, they have a platform. You go there, a lot of content creators have pages on the Patreon platform, and you can say, I want to give them $1 a month, I want to give them $5 a month, so on and so forth. Donorbox. Donorbox is what I use. Very, very, very simple system. They essentially just give you a landing page, that's about it. And then people are able to give you money. Or a company like PayPal. PayPal, you can actually do crowdfunding directly just through PayPal. The difference between these is the fees that you're going to pay and then the services that they're going to offer. So if you go to Patreon, you pay an additional 5% fee. So all of these you're going to pay, let's say, a 2.25% transaction fee just for using a credit card. Then beyond that, with Patreon, you're going to spend an additional 5 to 10%, and that's for whatever level of service you get out of Patreon. So their base Patreon thing, you get a landing page, people can subscribe to you, the whole nine yards. You're going to pay an additional 5% in fees for that. If you go up to 10%, they allow you to have tiers. So depending on how much money people give you, you can offer them different benefits. They give you different functionality, right? That's what you get, and that's what you're going to be getting for that extra 10%. But then you have to think about it. So 10% plus 2.25, you're leaving about 12% of your crowdfunding on the table for using Patreon. But they are providing you services you may find valuable. Donorbox, one of the reasons that I like it is they don't take any fees until you hit a certain level. Again, very, very, very simple. You get a landing page, you get some basic dashboard information, that type of stuff. But the good part is they don't really take much in fees, so that can be useful. PayPal, you really don't get much of anything with PayPal. You really don't get much of anything with PayPal, but you also really don't pay much either. So basically, if you just want like a pay me button and have people pay you, you can do that using PayPal. So when you're thinking about crowdfunding, this is like any software as a service, whether you're looking at Gmail or Office 365, whether you're looking at like CRM solutions, Zoho versus Salesforce, right? There's different price points, there's different features, there's different functionalities. You determine what you want to pay for. Sponsorships. Sponsorships are a big thing. This is a really big way you can make money for what you're doing. You can do things like you can sell slates and shout outs on your video. So basically what a slate is just like an image that you put on your video, and then you say, hey, this video was sponsored by Dell, this video was sponsored by Coca-Cola. Depending on how many views you get, the whole 9 yards, you'd be surprised how much money they're willing to pay for that type of thing. You can do native content. So this is the big one we see now a lot nowadays. I think it's one of the things that's destroying YouTube. But basically with the native content, it's basically they create a video so that you can talk about their product, right? So if you're a computer review channel and Dell comes to you and says, hey, we'll pay you $10,000 to do a video talking about our cool new product. That's a way that you can make money. One of the issues you run into with native content is, what's honesty? Like if somebody's paying you to give your honest opinion about a product, like you can say what your honest opinion, all your good honest opinions are. That's not a lie. If you simply do not say the problems that you see, that's not a lie. If it has if you have a laptop that has garbage battery life, but you just don't talk about the battery life at all, you're not lying. You get into some weird crap with native content. So you got to be careful with that. And then there's just a brand placement type of thing. So imagine if Hisense came to me. Hisense did not come to me, but this is the Hisense screen. I absolutely love this screen. They have not sponsored me, but I will take their money if they want to give it to me. But let's say Hisense came to me and said, hey, we see you're doing videos. We see you need a monitor. We'll give you a Hisense monitor to use on your shows. Plus, we'll chip in $1,000, $100, $10,000 per episode you use it in. That's one of the things that can be done too, right? It just goes in the background and people are like, ooh, can you tell what kind of screen that is Eli's using? That can be valuable too. There's a lot of different things you can do with sponsors. Affiliate links. I hate affiliate links. These are horrible ideas. Basically what you do is you make a commission on the sale. You put a link below your video. Anytime any of your people buy whatever that link is, you make money. I think this is a ridiculous way to do basically do marketing in the internet world. When I had sponsors in the past, basically what I told them, it is my job to get my viewers to your website. right? So I had a URL shortener, so I could track all of the links or all the clicks that people clicked onto the links, so I could see how many clicks were going to the site. That's all I was responsible for. If you can't close the sale once I've sent my highly targeted demographic your way, that's your business, right? And that's a problem you get into. So if you're doing commissions, it's not simply about getting the people to the person's website. It's also about them buying. So when you see NordVPN, when you see a lot of these other products that are being sold, remember that content creator is not getting paid until you actually buy that product. That creates a hell of a lot of conflicts of interest as far as I'm concerned, so I try to stay away from things like affiliate links. Where this can be useful for you is if you do honest reviews. If you do reviews about products, like Unbox Therapy does reviews about products, and then you put the affiliate link in the bottom for something like Amazon, so you talk about the product, you talk about the good parts about the products, you put about the bad parts about the product, and then you just simply put a link at the bottom, and then you get commission from Amazon, right? That's fairly legit, right? Because you're saying what you honestly feel, and if they still want to buy it, you buy it. A lot of people nowadays, they're making money off of affiliate links since so many people want to become YouTubers, they will write out all of the products that they use, the camera that they use, the lighting system that they use, the screen that they use, right? And they'll put affiliate links to Amazon in their description section. So that's another way you might be able to legitimately use affiliate links. But be careful with affiliate links. Again, at the end of the day, you know, are you willing to screw other people over just so you can make like $5? We're not even talking about are you willing to screw people over so you can make $1 million, right? I don't know. There's some moral and ethical questions there. Are you willing to screw people over for $5? Takes a real right bastard to do that. So that's something to think about. Then you have merch. I don't really understand the whole merch thing. So merch is t-shirts, right? So let's say you have a brand, you go to some place like Teespring, something like that, and basically you do custom merch. Basically, they just put your brand logo or whatever else on the merchandise. What happens here is whenever Teespring or these companies sell one of the products, essentially they sell the t-shirt for, let's say, $20. They send you like $1.50 in commission for that. And my argument with a lot of this merch is just ask your people for $2.50. They're paying $20 so you can get $1.50. I mean, I don't know, maybe it works. Again, hard way to make a buck. I would consider it a hard way to make a buck. So that's one thing to think about merch. Merch is good for branding. Merch is good for that overall business that you're trying to create. Actually trying to make a significant amount, like paying the mortgage off of merch. Unless you're Jake Paul, this is going to be a difficult road to go down. And then finally we got random money. So when I talk about random money, this is the weird stuff that you get paid for. So one of my best sponsors back in the day was Spiceworks. And so they literally paid me to fly down to Austin, Texas when they were still doing really well. I interviewed their entire executive staff. Not only that, but I was on a couple of their shows. It was just a whole little schmooze fest for a week. And they paid me for that. Like, that's kind of a random thing, right? I was paid to be a booth babe. There was a company called Plixer, and they paid me to go to Cisco Live. I had a sword where if you press the button, it goes, wah, 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 and I was waving the sword around, and then I was getting pictures taken with people, because they literally hired me to be a personality, which is weird. People were literally coming to get their pictures taken with me, and I was being paid for that. Very bizarre experience, but that was one of the random things you can get paid for. INE years ago, they paid me to go to actually Durham, North Carolina, where one of their offices is, and I sat down and I interviewed a lot of technology or networking professionals. So they create online networking courses, and so they wanted to do a series on how you become a successful network professional. And so I sat down. They brought in a videographer. They had a good video editor. They had the scene. They're beautiful. It's beautiful. If you ever see those videos, they're just so beautiful. Anyways, so they paid me to come down and do that type of thing. So there's random stuff that comes up to be thinking about. Let's see here, valuable numbers. So one of the things that, when people go to YouTube channels, they look at numbers and they think some things are important and some things are not. A lot of people come to channels and they see subscribers. So I've got over 1 million subscribers on my main channel, and they go, wow, you must be making so much money. And it's like, well, I was. I was years ago. When I had half this number of subscribers, I was making an impressive amount of money, and not so much anymore. The reason is because we don't get paid off of subscribers. You basically get paid off of views, going through that whole CPM auction system for advertising. So even though I've got a lot of subscribers, I don't get very many views anymore, and so my actual revenue is pretty low. Basically, you get something called subscriber rot. So for channels that are as old as mine, again, we're going on 12 years. September 2009 is when it started, so 12 years when I'm talking about it now. A lot of people have literally died. It sounds morose to say this, but it actually really is true. A lot of my viewers have literally died. I did the math years ago. I was just bored one day, figured out how many people die per day, and then figured out, like, you know, in 1 million subscribers, how many people that would be. And it's like something like a couple hundred of my subscribers literally die per day. Like, not a joke. This isn't a bad joke. It's actually true. Hundreds of my subscribers die every single day. So, after 12 years, and no, every day or whatever, more and more subscribers literally die. But just because they die doesn't mean their accounts go away. You then have subscriber numbers with dead people attached to them. So dead people are not going to watch your videos. Hopefully. So that's one of the issues you get to with something like subscriber rot. You see this even with bigger channels. Like you might have 10 million subscribers or 50 million subscribers, and the percentage of the people that are actually watching the videos are much smaller. Again, maybe 1%, 5%. And the reason is they may have 10 million subscribers and a few 100,000 that are actually active viewers of the content at this point. One of the other big things to be thinking about with your content is something called view time. So one of the things that jacks up your CPM is YouTube wants to pay based off of how long you keep the viewers getting the drug. Again, do remember that YouTube, all of these social media platforms are drugs. Like, that's not a joke, it's not hee hee ha ha. They're drugs, that's what it is. And so basically what YouTube is looking for is the best drug pushers, the people that get folks onto the platform, not just the length of time they watch your video, but the entire video session. So if you can get somebody to watch your video and then they watch another video, another video, another video, another video, even if those are videos from different people, the fact that you were able to bring them in the door, get them to take that first hit and keep watching videos, that's one of the things that will increase your revenue in the YouTube system. At least as far as we've been told. I mean, I think that's how it works. Anyways, why create YouTube videos? So there's a big question about why to create YouTube videos. Obviously, revenue, right? You make money. I've made money for a number of years. I still make money off of YouTube. Right? Normal reason to do anything. The next thing is self-promotion. Something to think about, especially with the tech people in the audience, is, back in the day, my professors used to say publish or perish, the concept of publish, like basically by publishing to newspapers, publishing to scientific journals, that gets you into view of people that might be able to get you jobs. The same is true in the modern world. The only difference is you can just self-publish essentially to YouTube. So if you're doing some kind of niche thing, right? So you're using machine vision with Raspberry Pi, going into TensorFlow or I don't know, whatever else, right? You're doing something kind of complicated, although that may have no clickbait potential. Although very few people in the world may give a crap about what it is that you're doing. If the few people that do give a crap about what you're doing, are hiring managers for Microsoft and Amazon and Google, simply by you putting out what you're doing, that might end up getting you a really valuable job. Again, something to think about in the YouTube world is how you get paid is not necessarily how you think people are getting paid, right? So again, you can have a video that may only have 100 views, but if those are 100 of the right views and you get a 6-figure job offer based off of it, that can be a valuable thing. The other thing is business promotion. So let's say you have a business and you want to basically explain to your customers how to do things, how things are going to be done. I think about this with my last house. I had a lot of construction work done in my last house. And one of the things that I would have liked is basically little time-lapse videos just showing me how projects work, right? So I had to have my driveway done. So if somebody had done like a time-lapse video of how a driveway actually gets repaved, that would have made me a hell of a lot more comfortable with writing the check to get the asphalt done, right? A lot of times when you have customers or clients and they're trying to figure out whether or not they should write the check, it really comes down to trust. They want what you say you're offering. They just don't know whether or not you're actually going to do it. So by doing videos, this is a way that you can show people this is what we do, this is our process, makes them feel more comfortable, so on and so forth. One of the things that you get into when you start dealing with the YouTube world is the copyright system. One of the big problems with copyright in the YouTube world is, again, you have a lot of people that lie. They will sit there. They will pontificate upon copyright law That has nothing to do with reality. I actually had to look a lot in the copyright rules, laws, back when I was creating, again, the original company, Everyman IT, because I wasn't going to YouTube. I was actually building my own company. I was worried about getting sued when I was building my own company, so I actually looked into the copyright thing, and it's not cut and dry by any stretch of the imagination. If you go to the copyright office, so it's like the patent and copyright office, they have a website, and you go to look for copyright law. Basically, on the website, like the last paragraph down, it essentially says that nothing about copyright is decided until you get to a court. At the end of the day, the judge will decide what is legit and what is not legit. So copyright can be a very difficult thing to deal with in the YouTube world, and you've got to be careful when you deal with copyrighted works, anybody else's intellectual property, because you could get in trouble with it. There's the idea of fair use. So the idea of fair use is if you use somebody else's content and it is transformative, it is like informational or educational in nature, and you do not basically make them lose any money for your taking their work, it's supposed to be considered fair use. What the line of fair use actually is, go ask a judge after you spend about $200,000 in legal fees. So be careful. For a lot of people out there, again, a lot of folks out there really want to use other people's intellectual property, because that's basically using somebody else's intellectual property as a way to make their content look more valuable. Be careful about it. Again, like I watch Jeremy Johns. There's a YouTube movie reviewer, Jeremy Johns, and he never shows any clips from any videos. Like, he has the poster for the movie in the background, and then he talks about the movie, and that's it. He never shows any music, he never shows any clips, he never shows anything else, because he knows he could get hit for copyright issues, even though theoretically that's legit. Again, even if you're legally allowed to do something, once you get into the YouTube world, it becomes a really massive gray area, so be careful with using copyrighted content. There's something called the Content ID system. That'll hit you. Basically what the Content ID system is YouTube has an algorithm that goes through videos, and it looks for matches in the videos that match things in the database, and if something pings based off of that, then what they may do is they may actually essentially give all the money for your video to the person that it pings against. So this comes up with Content ID abuse and stupidity. So I actually did a review of this particular TV. Again, I actually really do like this TV. Director's notes here. If you're going to create your own Silicon Dojo, Hisense, 65-inch, only cost me $600. 4K, beautiful screen. Anyways, I was doing a review of this particular screen. I was just trying to see, how well it worked, and so I pulled up Netflix, and I pulled up about a minute of the Arrow show. Audio was off. Audio was completely off. Basically, I had the camera pointed at the screen, just seeing what it looked like, and yeah, I got pinged by whoever the hell owns the Arrow, and they took all of my like $30 for the amount of money I made off of that particular review video. So again, is that fair use? I would argue that was completely fair use. Was it transformative? Was it educational? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, it was all of that stuff. Do I really want to fight with people? No. Again, what do you want to argue about? So be careful. You also get the true abuse. That was stupidity. Then you get true abuse. Is you'll get folks out of Brazil. Folks out of Brazil will try to ping your video saying that they own a specific soundtrack that was in your video. Oh, you hear that music at the 3-minute mark? My company owns that music. Give me all the money from that video. You run into that kind of stupidity. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't do a hell of a lot about it. YouTube is failing miserably when it comes to the whole Content ID system. But that's how it is. My argument is try to stay the hell away from anybody else's IP, and you'll be okay. Then finally, there are copyright strikes. So basically, with copyright strikes, if you really use a lot of somebody else's content, like truly to an illegitimate amount, whatever, you can get a strike. You get your first copyright strike, you can't upload anything for 7 days. You get your second copyright strike, you can't upload anything for 2 weeks. And your third copyright strike, your channel goes away entirely. And again, just be very careful with these old copyright strike things. Dealing with trolls, trolls is a big thing. We hear a lot about trolls, especially on the news and all that, about, psychology and all that kind of thing. One of the big things that I would say when you're dealing with trolls is just ignore them. A lot of people try to out-argue trolls, right? They're like, you know what? I'm going to show this troll. right? This troll, I'm gonna put this troll in their place. And so they come up with these amazing arguments, right? The issue is the troll's just trying to piss you off. Again, a lot of the people that are watching YouTube, they got some psychological issues. We know it's true, right? And so the things that they're looking for aren't necessarily what you think is going on. And so for a lot of the trolls, they're just trying to get an emotional reaction out of you. They don't really get the fact that you respond to them means that they win, right? Even if you theoretically put them in their place, it doesn't matter because that's not what they were looking for. It's not what they cared about. What they cared about was getting under your skin. And the fact that you responded to them means they got under your skin. So basically, when you're dealing with trolls, you have the ability to remove comments, you have the ability to hide people off of your YouTube channel forever and ever, and so I would use those moderation tools and then just don't even respond to them. With my main YouTube channel at this point, if you say something just generally stupid and obnoxious, I'll delete the comment because I just don't want to deal with it at this point. If you say something truly insulting, that kind of troll trying to get under the skin, you just get hidden forever. It's my YouTube channel, I put a lot of time and energy into it. I'm just tired of this crap, right? So that's something to think about there. One of the other things to realize is fans can be worse than your trolls. I've done a lot of projects over the years. One of the projects that I did in the past was I created a community, an online community. So again, I believe in gatekeeperless, I believe in authorityless, I believe in open. Here's the thing, hackers did not destroy that community. I do not believe a real hacker destroyed that community. A lot of my viewers who wanted to show me the security problems on that particular platform are the ones that destroyed it and made it unmanageable. You will run into a big problem with actually your fans. Your fans can be so destructive to whatever it is that you're trying to do, so actually be careful with them. Trolls. Trolls are easy. Trolls, I can deal with trolls any old day. Fans? Oh, those people can be like termites. So do be careful when you get dealing with fans. Psychology and mental health when you start dealing with the YouTube world. One of the big problems you run into is that no one will understand the psychological problems that you're going through as a YouTube content creator. Every single YouTube content creator that I know has psychological problems. Some of them need meds, some of them need therapy, some of them just need a six-pack of beer at the end of the day. I'm kind of one of those six-pack of beer kind of guys every once in a while. But we all run into weird psychological issues. The comments are communication. When you get this constant stream of comments coming in from people, I know you're supposed to ignore it. Everybody has this idea, well, just ignore the comments. Let me tell you, every single YouTuber I know grasps that concept. Every single YouTuber I know is like, I know I should just ignore the comments. Great, now just tell me how to do that. It's hard, especially when you're brand new. Like when those comments come in, it's a weird type of communication and it just digs into you a way that's hard to grasp, especially when you got kids. You got kids, they start seeing those kind of comments. Oh, it's weird psychology going on there. And one of the big issues that you have is everybody thinks it's a good job for some reason. Well, let me disabuse you of the concept that this is a good job. It's a job. I don't know, I've gotten benefits out of it. There's been good parts about this job, there's been bad parts about this job. I would like to move on at this point. But it's a job. Any job's a job. This is a job. But for some reason, people put YouTubers up on this pedestal like, oh my golly, this is an amazing job. You should be grateful you're a YouTuber. And so the problem is, if you're told all the time that you should be grateful to be something, and then you start having psychological problems from doing that thing, it's even worse, right? Because you have problems, you're already shy and sheepish about the problems, and then you're basically told by everybody you shouldn't have problems, and then people start swallowing bottles of pills. This isn't a joke with psychology and mental health. One of the things that I bring up, and I bring this up simply because he actually did a video on it, is one of the people I know on YouTube, this guy called Barnacles, Jerry. He did this video, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, and it was for Suicide Prevention Week. And so he did this video on Suicide Prevention Week, and he was talking about the time that you know he tried to commit suicide. And so for me, like I know the guy, he's very smart, he's very talented. He worked at Microsoft for 15 years. At any time he could go to a job at any tech company and make a metric crap ton of money. He's married, he has a kid, he has a house, and he's YouTube famous. He's got all the stuff that you're supposed to want. So when he thought about committing suicide, I figured that was when he was like 18 or 19 or some bad time in his 20s. Oh my God, I'm sitting there watching this video of somebody that I actually know, and it's like, last November, my wife took the kid out of town for a couple of days, and I decided to swallow a bottle of pills. You're like, oh my golly. Well, to be clear, this is not, I'm not spilling any beans here. He did a video talking about this. You just got to realize there's a lot of psychological and mental health issues going on in the YouTube world, so just kind of keep this in mind. If you are not feeling healthy, if you're not feeling stable, if you're feeling any issues, turn the camera off, walk the hell away, get some therapy, get some meds. Do not keep driving on, because you might drive yourself into a bottle of pills, which is not a joke. If you actually listen to a lot of YouTubers, every once in a while they'll come up with that one video where they'll actually, like, they'll let that mask slip and they'll talk about the things that they're really going through, and it's sad. It's sad. Anyway, so what do you need in order to create videos? So in order to create videos, all you need is a camera and a video editor. Basically, you need a camera in order to record the videos, and then you need a video editor, obviously a computer, in order to do any of the editing that you're going to do with your video. When you're dealing with cameras, there are a number of different cameras that you can use. Basically, you can use a camcorder. Camcorders are what I have always used. Directors know, it's what I'm talking into right now. A Sony AX7000, I think is what it is. I like camcorders. Camcorders are what I've used since 2009. A lot of the YouTubers, the real YouTubers, not me of course, I'm not a real YouTuber. Real YouTubers use DSLRs, right? These type of cameras. You can swap off the lenses, that type of thing. Basically, think of it as a camera, but they actually do record video. Or you can use your smartphone in order to do videos. The thing that I like about camcorders that a lot of folks don't think about is autofocus. Autofocus is a beautiful thing. I mean, the fact that I can just come to a video, and then I can come up close, and then it focuses on me without me doing anything, hands-free, and then I can walk the hell away, right? For me, I'm somebody that likes to dance around like a monkey, so the more auto my camera is, the better it is for me. So I like camcorders. The good part about them, they have autofocus. You don't have any time restraints on how long you can do a video, so I can just do one massive long video, the whole 9 yards. I like them. Most real YouTubers prefer DSLRs because this will actually give you a much better image. The internal components for DSLR are just generally better than they are for camcorders. The issue is, though, manual focus. So when you're doing that amazing shot of whatever it is that you're doing, you have to manually keep it into focus. Or if you have a DSLR and it's pointed at the presenter, basically, since it's manual focus, that presenter has a very narrow range that they can be within. So you'll notice a lot of the folks that talk in the camera, they're not like me. They're not running all over the place. And the reason that they're not running all over the place is because their camera is set up to be focused at a specific distance. If they start running around, then if they're more forward or more back, then the focus will get screwed up. So that's one of those things to be thinking about with the DSLR. I did have one camcorder. It was a very expensive, very fancy camcorder that actually had lenses that you could swap. I didn't realize it didn't have autofocus on it. And so I went and I did a video. I actually did a field trip up to a makerspace up in Philadelphia. I had an assistant at the time who was way too damn excited. Wasn't paying attention, and so every time I lined up a shot, one of the things I told him is like, okay, make sure I'm in focus. I think I'm in focus, so just make sure now that I'm here that I'm actually in focus. This guy, he would look up, go, oh yeah, you're in focus, and then I would go and I did a whole frickin' day's worth of video. So I drove up to Philadelphia, I did this whole thing, I come back, I get my video files, one cut, one out of 30 cuts were in focus. I had a very, very, very serious conversation with that assistant afterwards. But that's the problem you get into. Like with this camcorder, again, it may be out of focus for like a fraction of a second or something, but I'm really not worried about it. I can set this up, I can do this anywhere. When you start dealing with manual focus, you can run into some major issues. Then you have smartphones, right? So the iPhone you have in your pocket, the Android phone, whatever else. The good thing about this is you already own it, it is very easy to use, and they're pretty high quality at this point in time. The one thing that I will warn you about though is, like, I have an iPhone 11 Pro. iPhone 11 Pro does 4K at 60 frames per second. To be clear, that is not the same 4K as the camcorder that I talk into when I do these videos, right? The, what's it called? The chip? Oh, I'm losing it. Anyways, inside the lens, there's a sensor. I think it's a sensor size. Anyways, with normal camcorders and normal DSLRs, you have a very large sensor in there. The sensor might be all the way up to an inch in size, so it can pull in a lot of light. It can pull in a lot of information, and so you get a very good quality. Not only is it a 4K image, it's a very good quality 4K image. When you're dealing with a smartphone, it is going to give you a 4K image, but its sensor is that big. It can only do what it can work with, right? It's only got what it's got. So again, depending on what you're doing, I actually use my smartphone. So I have a smartphone. I do my normal Eli the Computer Guy videos on it. I do a live stream generally every day. I use that for that. I use my smartphone for that. So again, smartphones truly are not bad. They're just, it's just one of those trade-offs. What do you want to invest in? But autofocus, I'm just going to tell you, autofocus is great. I do not know how content creators do things without autofocus. I would lose my mind. I would not be a content creator. I would not be here right now. If I did not have autofocus, this whole gig would have been up years ago. Editing software. So, when you get your video files, you got to edit it somehow. I use Final Cut. So a lot of people give me crap for using Apple. Oh, you're just a Apple sheep or whatever else for using Apple. One of the reasons I laugh at this is because I bought Final Cut. So Final Cut is a professional level video editing software. I spent $250 for it back in 2013. Oh, I don't know. What is it? 9 years ago at this point? 8-9 years ago? Final Cut has been on every single Mac that I've owned. Every time there's an update, anything else, I have never spent an additional dollar for Final Cut. I pay for it once, that's it. If I lose a Mac, I can just reinstall it on the new Mac. You don't have to worry about licensing, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So that's one of the reasons I like Apple, that's one of the reasons I like Final Cut. Again, simply this right here, this Final Cut has saved me so much money. Again, it's one thing to think about with computers and technology, total cost of ownership. Not just the price of the computer, but the price of the computer and the software and everything else. Adobe is more of the professional software. It's like the enterprise software for the video editing world. So it's very good for resumes, right? So if you are going to do videos and you want to get into video editing and possibly sell your services to other people, you should probably take a look at Adobe. You do Adobe's Creative Suite and actually learn that, because that's the thing where you can learn it for the product, for what you're doing, and then offer your services later. The other good thing about Adobe, again, being more of an enterprise type product, is it's a hell of a lot better for teams. If you have like a 30-minute video and you're having multiple editors deal with that video, Adobe is going to be much better for you. But it's also going to cost you a lot more money. I'm not quite sure how much Adobe costs right now, but it's a couple of dollars, right? So again, like Adobe Creative Suite, like when I first bought Adobe Creative Suite way back when I started 2009, I think it was like $1,400. And there's been multiple versions since then. I probably would have spent like $8,000 on Adobe alone if I had kept upgrading, over the past 12 years. So again, total cost of ownership, something to think about. And then there's free options. Honestly, the free options are probably fine. If you have an Apple computer, you have iMovie on it. If you have a Windows computer, there's probably some crappy movie editing software on there. I would argue just use that, especially when you're new. When you're new, you're not really sure what you want. You don't really know what the budget is, the whole 9 yards. That's probably going to be fine for you. The computer for editing. A lot of people get into this. What is the best computer for editing? Really, probably, again, not one of these things. It probably doesn't matter for you at this point in time. It's all about the resource consumption. It's all about resources, right? So, 4K, if you're editing videos, it's 4K, 60 frames per second, or 8K, you're going to need a hell of a lot better computer than if you're editing videos at 1080p, 30 frames per second. Almost any computer, a potato at this point in time can probably edit a 1080p 30 frame per second video. Again, get high definition. High definition was cool 10 years ago. Now it's whatever. Your phone can do 4K at this point. So, whatever computer you have right now is probably fine. PCs are fine. You don't need a Mac. I like Macs. I use Macs, but you don't need a Mac. You can use a PC. You can use Linux. Again, you can probably use damn near a potato at this point. Anything that has video editing software on there, has a big enough hard drive, the whole 9 yards, should do you fine. Again, I use Mac. Mac generally just works. One of the big questions for you when you're deciding on a computer is all of the peripherals and all the additional software that you're going to need. So something to think about is there's video editing, but then there's like animation sequences. So you might need different software in order to create animations. You need different software in order to create thumbnails. You need different software maybe to do sound editing, that type of stuff. So when you're thinking about what computer to buy, what software do you want to use? What peripherals do you want to use? And what computers do they work on? There's Elgato. Elgato is really big into video game capture. right? So if you're going to do Twitch or you're going to do Let's Plays, this company called Elgato creates really good capture cards, like really, really good capture cards, very reasonable price, the whole 9 yards. They only work on PCs. That's it. You can't use Elgato on Mac. I tried. Doesn't work, right? So if you want to use Elgato, use a PC. Right? It's not that complicated, but one of the big things I would say is I would not use a Mac for a year. So Apple Silicon has basically just come out. Apple Silicon is they're now using the ARM processors, they're no longer using the Intel processors. Don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-Apple Silicon. Apple Silicon is amazing for any number of reasons. But there are problems with hardware device drivers. Plugging in hardware into these new Macs doesn't necessarily work as well as it should. Doesn't necessarily work at all. Again, some software, you might run into some issues. So I would wait another year before I bought an Apple Silicon Mac. I think about this when I bought my Mac Pro. So I have a full-fledged Mac Pro since I do this for a living and I've made money. When I bought it, I had a Yeti USB 2.0 microphone. Worked fine, beautiful, worked beautiful for years and years and years and years. I was nice to it, I had never abused it, it was a great little microphone. Plugged it into my Mac Pro, and there was all kinds of weird buffering issues, there was delay, there was sequence issues, all kinds of problems, right? Well, the issue is with the Mac Pro, it uses something called T2 chip, uses encryption technology, and apparently the encryption technology doesn't like USB 2.0. When you use audio devices with a Mac Pro that are USB 2.0, it buffers how it deals with it for security reasons, and it just screws everything up. So the fix was to literally buy a Yeti USB 3.0 microphone. Yeah, it wasn't any like fancy sophisticated thing, right? And so that's, I don't know, again, I like Apple. I own a Mac Pro, I own a MacBook Pro, obviously, I own an iPhone. I'm not going to touch Apple Silicon for at least another year. For me at this point, probably another 2 or 3 years, but do be careful about that. There is also live streaming out there, so not only can you record videos, for later, but you can live stream videos. Live streaming setups are pretty easy. Basically, you can use your phone. So I actually use my phone basically every day in order to do my little daily blogs. You can use that phone for live streaming, or you can have full computer setups. Essentially, what happens is you use a video encoder. So this may be an encoder that's a PCIe card that goes into your computer, or a USB device like this. You plug the HDMI cable into one side, you plug the USB cable into the other, plug this into your computer, and then you're able to actually bring in video feeds, basically like there were webcams. You then use software, either Wirecast or OBS, and with that you're able to switch between your different video feeds, you're able to live stream the video, you're able to put overlays and all that kind of fancy stuff on there. I like Wirecast. I've used Wirecast for many years. It costs anywhere between $500 to $1,000 depending on what version you're using, and it's great. OBS, a lot of people actually like OBS. It's called Open Broadcasting Software. The thing is, this was designed by Linux administrators. It technically works wonderfully. You will never hear me say it doesn't technically work wonderfully. Technically, it works wonderfully. Here's the thing, Wirecast gives you live tiles, so you can see exactly what's going on in each and every shot. It's very user-friendly, it was designed by somebody that actually met a human being in their life. So not only does it work, but it's also relatively easy to use. OBS, again, completely and utterly works, but especially when you're doing live streaming and you have to know what you're clicking on and you have to make sure you're doing things in the right sequence. A lot of times you're just looking at, basically you're clicking on titles. Like when I go to Wirecast, I'm actually clicking on the live video feed and I know what I'm clicking on. When you're on OBS, a lot of times you're clicking on just a title of what that shot is, and you hope you didn't screw that one up. So be careful about that. Again, video encoders, I use Magewell now. So back in the day I used to use Blackmagic. Blackmagic was the best of horrible options back in the day. I like Magewell at this point because basically you plug in a HDMI device, it automatically detects that device, and basically as far as your computer is concerned, it simply looks like a webcam. You don't have to install any additional drivers, you don't have to run through any additional hoops. Basically it just sees it as a webcam at whatever resolution that you purchased. So I've used Magewell for a number of years at this point. I used Blackmagic before that, used some other different ones. made well, I say is great. If you're in the PC world though, Elgato, E-L-G-A-T-O, they're supposed to be pretty good. I've played around with them a little bit. Again, I'm not a PC guy, so I haven't used them a lot, but I have heard good things. Lighting. Lighting is one of those things when you get into the YouTube world, a lot of people focus on the cameras and the computers and the video editing software, and they don't think about the really difficult things. The really difficult things are lighting. Lighting sucks, right? When you are doing videos, making sure the shadows don't blot things out, making sure things don't look ugly, the whole 9 yards can be a complete pain in the ass. Trying to figure out lighting can be very, very difficult. What's nice for me at this point in time is I've kind of given up. As an old timer of YouTube world, it says I don't care anymore. I've got fluorescent lights above me. I'm fine with that. But when you're trying to be a professional YouTuber, because you have to have the lights coming down and you have to have lights coming up in order to keep the shadows away. Also things to think about is if you have a light pointed at you, if you're close to the wall behind you, your shadow will be on the wall. So what you may do is you may actually put your desk a lot closer to the camera so that when the light hits you, the wall is much further away so the shadow doesn't show up on the wall. And so trying to figure out the whole lighting scheme. Figuring out the lighting scheme, this is one thing you screw with like every 2 years. You figure out your lighting, you spend like 2 days figuring out your lighting scheme, and then you don't touch it for 2 years. I used to do my videos in my basement. I set up the lighting scheme like 2 years ago before I moved, and then I never touched it again. So just remember lighting is a pain in the butt. Think about the sun. So like I have windows here, so when the sun comes out or the sun goes behind a cloud, it may be a little bit of different lighting coming in, but especially with a camcorder that does auto calibration, it may cause weird issues on your video. And these are all things that you've got to think about. There's a lot of people that do videos on how to deal with this, so just keep it in mind. Sound. Sound is the other thing that sucks when you're dealing with sound. How you're going to deal with sound is kind of up to you, how you decide to do it. There's no right way to deal with sound. When you're dealing with sound, you have to think about how do you want the sound to be. You'll go and you'll watch YouTubers, and some of the YouTubers have very echoey sound, some of the YouTubers have very dead sound, some of the YouTubers have the microphone like right in their face so you can really hear what they're saying. Other people are like me. I always keep the microphone rather far away from me. So the microphone for this particular video is actually sitting on top of my camera, and the reason for that is, again, I like to run around. I like to run. I like to be free. Monkey gotta be free. Monkey gotta be free. Right? So if I have a microphone and it's right in front of my mouth, then when I'm trying to be free, I've got to take this microphone with me. So it may give me better audio quality, true, but it's also not my video style. So those are the kinds of things that you have to think about with sound. Echo, how you can dampen echo in your room and the whole 9 yards. The closer the microphone is to your mouth, the better the sound is going to be. You can limit the ambient noise. So right now you may hear there's buskers. So Asheville has a lot of buskers. People that just play music outside. We've got a lot of them. They're like pigeons around here. Like I've been to towns that have buskers, and every couple of blocks you'll see somebody playing music. Here it's like Battle of the Busker. I swear, like on one block you'll have like 5 buskers. So anyway, so when I do these videos, a lot of times you'll hear ambient noise. You might hear a fire truck. You may hear buskers. You may hear all that crap. Again, I'm an old timer. I'm walking ass backwards out the door. I don't really care anymore. For you, as a professional YouTuber, think about ambient noise is something you really need to think about. But this is something you go out there, you play with, you screw around with, you figure out what style you prefer. Editing style, something to think about when you start doing your videos is what is going to be the style of your videos. I am a long-form content creator, so I have been talking to this camera quite a while now, and I have not stopped. There has not been a single jump cut in this particular video. There's not jump cuts in my other videos. I can talk for 90 minutes if I want to. And that's my style. That's the way I do. You have to think about what your style is and what you can do. You get some people that do a lot of jump cuts. There's a style from this guy called Zay Frank, where basically you never see the person blink. So what happens is anytime the person is not talking, they chop that chunk out. So if you ever watch a Zay Frank video, he'll have like a 5-minute video, and he will not blink the entire time. And the reason is because every time he stops talking, every time he takes a breath, every time he gulps, every time he blinks, he jump cuts that out. That's his particular style. The nice part about that particular style is if you make any mistakes, the editing out those mistakes are just part of the process. With me, I don't like to do editing. If you ever watch me, I don't like to do it. I do like 3 minutes of it. I don't even do 3 minutes of editing. I can like chop this part off and I chop that part off and I throw it to the encoder. So for me, it's a lot easier just to sit here and just talk into a camera. There is no right or wrong way of doing this. It's just the way you decide to do it. When you're thinking about your editing style, think about the problem your video is trying to solve and do that. Again, for me, a lot of my videos are conversational. I'm trying to get you comfortable. I'm trying to get you relaxed. I'm trying to get you to understand that you can do the thing that I'm talking about you doing. So I want you to calm the hell down. So we do nice and long and relaxed, la 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 la. I'm a weird ass quasi-therapist. I'm not a therapist, but I think people think I am, right? That's how I do things. On the other hand, if you want to say exactly what you need to say, you don't want there to be any mistakes, you might do like jump cuts or whatever else. And then we get to YouTube fame, right? So YouTube fame is a real thing. Again, it's kind of one of those funny things. I talk about being YouTube famous, but like, oh, ha, 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 isn't that funny? Now, to be clear, when I talk about being YouTube famous, it means people know me, right? I was in the Roman Forum. I was in Italy, Rome, the Roman Forum, wandering around, looking at ancient ruins. Literally had a Pakistani couple come up to me and go, "Oh my God, you're Eli the computer guy. Thank you so much." And they had a selfie taken with me. I was in Amsterdam. An African American from the United States who had just created a cybersecurity startup company walked up to me in the red light district of Amsterdam and said, "I want to thank you so much for what I learned from your videos that allowed me to create this startup company." I was in Lisbon, had the flappy Indian. There was this Indian that walked up to me, "Oh my golly, you have helped so many Indians." I was in Lisbon, Cancun, Miami, San Francisco, Seattle, DC, halfway up a mountain. I was hiking up a mountain with my wife. We're going along, and then there's these two army guys, and they're like running past us, going up this hill. I'm like, Jesus, right? This one guy, he gets like 10 paces ahead of us. I swear to you, he stops, turns around halfway up a mountain, looks at me and goes, "Oh my golly, you're Eli the computer guy. Can I get a picture with you?" And then it's the exact same trip. I went to a place called Pigeon Forge, so this is right outside of the Smoky Mountains. And I was sitting there, my wife's a vegan, so I don't really get to eat a lot of meat. And for whatever reason, I was just like, we went to this buffet, and I was like, I want to eat meat. And they had ribs, at this buffet. So I hadn't eaten in a long time, and it was all you can eat, and it was ribs. And for whatever reason, my wife wasn't giving me the nasty look when I was eating the ribs. So I was sitting there, just digging into these ribs, just being a glutton. We all do that kind of thing every once in a while. I'm sitting there feeling just disgust, relishing in the disgust of these ribs. Swear to you, the person in the seat right beside me turned around and went, "You're Eli the computer guy. Let me shake your hand." I'm like, So, important thing to understand is YouTube fame is real, right? Local Home Depot, I had a couple, they wanted to get their pictures taken with me. Lowe's, I was at Whole Foods, right? I was at Whole Foods. The bagger there was apparently going through college. He goes, "Oh, thank you so much. You showed me how to do something in the technology videos." So it's very important to understand. When we talk about YouTube fame is a real thing. When I think about this, basically, the way that I think about it is, again, almost in a porn sense. This is where it got very uncomfortable with having 2 kids in the room. But real world. Anyways, I think about it as shaking your brain nipples. When you're going to be doing YouTube, you're essentially doing a weird ass form of porn. You're shaking your brain nipples. And so with that, it's important to understand that a lot of people are going to see what you are doing, and you do have to make sure you are comfortable with putting out to the world what you're putting out to the world. I watched this HBO documentary years ago talking about the porn industry. And in it, they had this guy who actually owned a porn company. This was so uncomfortable. Kids. Anyways, this porn company, and he was talking about, every time that he brought in a new actress for the porn company, one of the things he told the actress is, listen, guys look at porn. If you do porn, there's a good chance your father is going to see this, your brother is going to see this, your uncle is going to see this, a potential boyfriend is going to see this, the whole 9 yards. Do make sure that you feel comfortable with that reality. I always think about that as a wise lesson. When you think about the YouTube world, when you start doing YouTube videos, everybody's going to watch. So when you talk about your hot takes, when you talk about your politics, when you talk about so many things, realize people are going to be watching that, right? How will your friends, how will your family, how will your business associates take your content? One of the things that I found is one of the weird things, very weird, in the YouTube world is, so again, I talk about business, I talk about technology, I'm around a lot of business, a lot of technology people, and so I've actually said good things. I'm not always snarky. I'm not always a mean bastard. I'm not always snarky. There are some companies that I really do, say really good things about. I actually found some of the people that I've said the best things about sort of took the most offense to. I'm not really sure if offense is the right word, but they were the least comfortable with me talking about their company. I mean, hey, who wants their startup company talked about in a good light on YouTube? I don't know. I don't get it. To be clear, some of these things I do not understand, but I do know them to be true. How people take what you say may not be how you think they're gonna take, what you say. YouTube can be damaging. You start talking about politics. You have bad takes. You have toxic content. Again, employers, sponsors, all these types of people may see that content, and again, they may decide that they don't want to deal with a person like that. This is something that I think about with Silicon Dojo. Again, hopefully as we grow, hopefully as we get sponsors, hopefully as we get more crowdfunding for this venture, I will get to the point where I'll be able to hire employees. The types of employees I plan to hire are instructors, mentors, coaches, those types of people. This is something that I'm concerned about, right? If I have my coaches and they go onto YouTube and they do videos on how to make LEDs blink. So let's say we use Raspberry Pi and Arduino, they're interested in banana pies. So they're like, you know what? I'm gonna do some videos on making LEDs blink on banana pies. Right, that's great, that's great. You go make as many videos on making LEDs blink on whatever platform you want. But think about this for a second, right? If my instructors, if my coaches are interacting with students, hopefully hundreds of students with all kinds of different political views and everything else. And then my instructors go onto YouTube and they're not talking about LEDs blink. They start talking about whatever. I'll let you fill in that particular blank. It causes a real issue for me. Again, there's a difference between there's freedom of speech, right? You have the First Amendment right. I also have a business to run. You have students that want to follow, the teacher on YouTube. The teacher on YouTube starts talking about all kinds of wacky stuff about politics and races and genders and who the hell else knows what. That can cause some real issues. So you have to think about this in the real world. And again, one of the things to think about in the real world is it's the real world. And not only can stupid things happen to you, but how you interact with the stupid things that happen to you can be a big deal. So Boogie2988 was that first little screenshot I showed you all the way back in the beginning with, Draw My Life and how YouTube made his life better. Unfortunately, poor Boogie2988 is not the most psychologically stable human being in the world. I think he'll state that fact too, so I don't feel like I'm insulting him or anything here. The issue is he has a lot of trolls. So apparently he says stuff that annoys a lot of people on social media. I don't follow him that much, but on some of his social media accounts, he has people that go after him. And since he responds to these people that go after him, they go after him more. Why? They want to get a response. If they can get under your skin, they will attack harder. So unfortunately, Boogie2988, he had one of these jackasses who on Reddit or something like that was trolling him, was saying a lot of stupid stuff, and so this guy decided to show up at the door of Boogie2988. Boogie2988 was of the incorrect impression that if he owned a gun, that would save him somehow. Again, this is one of those weird things of somebody that's ex-military, somebody who actually knows how to use weapons and the whole 9 yards. There's a difference between owning a weapon and knowing how and when to use it. Two entirely different critters. Boogie owns a weapon. He does not know how to appropriately handle it. And so this person came to the door, he was concerned, he was frightened, and so he said, I am going to fire a warning shot for you to go away. So he then fired a warning shot in his house. I don't know, he shot the floor or the roof or something like that. Funny part of the story, moral of the story. Troll walked away with a hell of a lot of good video footage making fun of Boogie2988, and Boogie2988 was arrested for shooting a weapon in a residential area. So not only did he get trolled, but he also got arrested for how he responded to the troll. That is real. Like this is real. This happened like when I'm doing this video. I don't know what date it is today, but this is May 11th, 2021. For me, this only happened a couple of weeks ago. So you have to be concerned about this. And again, if you're going to buy something like a weapon in order to defend yourself, you have to understand how are you going to handle that weapon. One of the weird things here that I pondered with a lot of folks in the South, so I'm now in Asheville, North Carolina, which is in the South, and when I was talking to the folks in the audience, we had a bit of a bet on whether he would have been in less trouble if he had actually shot the guy. I'm just putting it out there. If you feel like you're in physical danger, you're at your property and somebody's trespassing, and you shoot the guy, you may actually have a better legal standing than if you keep the door closed and shoot the floor. Again, I'm not saying what you should do. I'm saying you do need to think about this, though. When you think about the personality that makes a good YouTuber, basically you need to have somebody that's willing to talk in front of a camera for hours and hours and hours on end. You know, it's one of those weird things. Like, if you say it takes a special type of person to be a police officer, a firefighter, a special type of person to be a plumber, everybody it says, yeah, of course, right? But again, one of the weird things I find, like in the technology world and the YouTube world, is people just assume anybody can do this. Right? Anybody can yabber and do it. It's so easy, right? It's not like you get paid for doing work. Right, there's special personalities that are required to do YouTubers. Some people are good at doing YouTube, some people are not. I am Aspie to the bone, so I'm an Aspie, I'm on the autistic spectrum. I, in fact, am retarded, but I pretend to be so normal. If I say the word retarded, I'm going to get canceled. It's the modern world. But I is retarded, I swear. Anyways, with this, there are a whole bunch of stuff. One of the big problems with being an Aspie is you lack, or at least for me, I lack the ability for intuition. Intuition is nonverbal communication. Apparently, from what I've been informed, 50%, half of all human communication is nonverbal communication. I was not given that module when I was born, so I don't understand nonverbal communication. So the problem is when I'm having conversations with vendors, when I'm having conversations with CEOs, when I'm having conversations with employees. If the conversation starts zigzagging and going all over the place, I frankly just lose track of the conversation. My wife sees this, people that I know see this. Like when conversations start going weird, you just see my eyes glass over. Like my brain's just like, checked out. Again, my brain can't follow, right? And that doesn't work too well in the business world. And so one of the things that I learned how to do is I learned how to basically have what I call monologue conversations. What this means is the CEO thinks they're having a conversation with me. Really, it's just a highly choreographed monologue. So what I do is I think about the conversation that I'm going to have with the CEO. I figure out all of the questions that the CEO may have, and basically before they bring up the question, I bring it up so that I can answer it. So I can control the entire situation. I figure out, you know, how much I want for a project, how much I'll accept for a project, you know, whether I can get some more out of the project, whether or not I'll take it. I figure out all that stuff beforehand, and then basically I sit there with the CEO and have a really long monologue. They think they're having a conversation with me, they're not. So when I came to the YouTube world, basically all I'm doing is the exact same thing I did for many, many, many years. Now instead of having a monologue conversation with a CEO, I'm having a monologue conversation with a camera. Sometimes the cameras have more personality. Oh, that's me. But it's true. Right, but this is the kind of thing you have to be thinking about with the personality of doing YouTube videos. It's basically, you know, the things that may have been bad in the past in our society may be good for you in this modern world. Like I say, I talk with myself a lot. Again, one of the ways that I think is I physically think. Talking to myself. You know, 20 years ago, talking to yourself was a sign that you're crazy. Now it's a sign you might be a star. Something to think about with the personality type deal. Creating good content. One of the things when you're going to create good content is you got to be happy. Again, remember it's all a lie. Remember it's all a lie. If you remember all this is a lie, you'll do much better. But be very happy. Like when you're talking about things, always be happy. Even when you're talking about bad things, you'll notice this. Like I say, especially a lot of the political YouTube commentators, they'll kind of act sad and they'll kind of be mad. They'll be like, our rights are being taken away. But you'll kind of see that smile. It's kind of like my chihuahua. So Peanut, my little chihuahua, and she'll be barking. She'll just be barking. She'll just be losing her mind to some other dog. It's like the end of the world. But then like you kind of see that little tail wagging a little bit. She's having fun. You want to have fun. Again, people come here for fake. People come here for lies. So the more happy you can be, the better you're going to do. Stay on topic. Find one topic and stick on the topic. You do not go to Starbucks in order to buy a bacon double cheeseburger. Well, when people come to your channel, they're expecting one type of content. I know this whole thing, you know, YouTube is you know, show the diverse aspects of being a real human is a lie. Don't do that. Pick a topic. Technology, politics, makeup. this, that, or the other. Pick that one topic, that's what people want out of you. Clickbait and titles. So one of the big things with how the recommendation algorithm works is it really likes the same type of title. So when videos get recommended, a lot of times it's basically recommended based off that title. So if you watch one video about, let's say, Biden or Trump, you'll get another video about Biden or Trump. If you watch one video about NVIDIA graphics cards, they'll offer another video about NVIDIA graphics cards. So if you're going to do a video talking about graphics cards, like, you know, testing a graphics card, right? If you do a title that says testing, let's say, a graphics card, that's probably not very valuable as far as the YouTube algorithm is concerned, right? Where you say testing an NVIDIA blah, blah, blah graphics card, right? That hits a lot of the kind of words that the algorithm is looking for. So you really, when you're doing the titles, you want things that the algorithm will be able to pick up, and basically it'll be like same as the other titles that are coming out. If you look at Marquez Brownlee, if you look at Austin Evans, if you look at Linus Tech Tips, if you look at Soldier Knows Best, if you look at so many of the tech YouTubers, they're all talking about the same crap. It's not because they're stupid. They're actually smart to do this, right? If they're all talking about the same products, then when one person clicks on one of the people's videos, they will get recommended everybody else's videos. You also want to make some kind of clickbait thing just so people click. They want to click, why is the NVIDIA blah, blah, blah best card ever? Why is the NVIDIA blah, blah, blah worst card ever, right? That worst card is then, oh, I'm going to click that because I want to know why it's the best or worst card. The more often your viewers click on the videos when they're presented by the recommendation engine, the more often the recommendation engine will then present more videos to your users. So you really have to think about putting in kind of like those brand names into your titles, and then something to get people to click on them. One of the things that I would say too is maximize subscriber to view count for recommendations. So I have a new channel called Silicon Dojo. You're actually probably watching this on the Silicon Dojo channel. One of the things that I'm doing here is I'm not posting a new video until the last video has more views than I currently have subscribers, right? So basically, one of the things is when YouTube recommends a video, if your subscribers don't click on that video for whatever reason, it will recommend it less. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm waiting until I have more views on a video than I have subscribers. So that's hopefully signals to the YouTube algorithm that, hey, people actually want to watch this video, and then I release the next video, then I release the next video, then I release the next video. And so that's one of the things you get into, like the YouTube world, trying to figure out how many videos to put out can be a bit of a difficult thing. It's like the more videos you put out, you may do better. It may be better to put one video out a week, or maybe one video a day, or maybe 5 videos a day. What it works out for you is going to be you, because none of us really know what the rules are here. So things to just be thinking about. Topical versus evergreen content. So topical content is good for driving traffic. If you're talking about current events, whatever is currently going on, Section 230, TikTok being banned, whatever else, that's a good way to drive traffic right now, because a lot of people are looking for those very specific words. The issue is once you get out of the window where people care about those specific words, the value of that content goes to zero, right? So you may make $1,000 off of a video, and then a month later you're making 1 cent a day. So it's a good way of driving traffic quick. Evergreen content can be very useful because it keeps driving traffic day after day, year after year. So one of the videos that I did, it's on TCP/IP. It's actually on the TCP/IP. I took a look at it when I was actually doing the presentation live, and I did that video back in 2010. So 2010, it's made me about $20,000. It has 3.5 million views. The most interesting part about it, though, is that it's still getting 400 to 500 views per day. This video has been up since 2010, still getting 400 to 500 views per day. So when you're thinking about the type of content that you're going to do, this is kind of one of those things to think about. Strikes and punishments. One of the things to understand about the rules of YouTube is, don't worry, they don't understand the rules either. Again, nobody really understands the rules of YouTube. Here's the thing, I had a partner manager years ago. YouTube had screwed me over. They gave me a partner manager, so I had somebody to talk to at YouTube. At one point, I was sitting there, and I was trying to figure out how to do sponsorships back then, because they had specific rules on how to do sponsorships. And so he was walking me through this spreadsheet. He had like this 3-page spreadsheet that said, if you're going to have a slate in the first 5 seconds of your video, it has to be co-branded. It has to have your branding and the sponsor's brand. If the slate is in after the first 5 seconds of the video, it can have just the sponsor's brand, right? They had a spreadsheet, and he's sitting there and he's walking me through the spreadsheet. This is a real story. This is really how it works. So we're sitting there walking through a spreadsheet, and after we went through a few, I was like, look, I'm a human. I'm an adult. I can read. So why don't you just send me a spreadsheet? You just give me a spreadsheet, and then I'll go through, and when I'm looking at doing sponsors, I will just make sure I don't violate any of the rules on the spreadsheet. You have a rule spreadsheet, you give me the rule spreadsheet, I won't violate the rules on the spreadsheet. You know what my partner manager told me? Eli, we have lawyers. Eli, we have lawyers. That's his actual response. It's like, what the hell does that mean? Look, I don't want to break the rules. I need to get sponsors. I want to do it within the rules. All I'm asking for is they literally have a spreadsheet of rules. All I'm asking for is a copy of the spreadsheet of rules. Eli, we got lawyers. Yeah. Anywho, that's reality. So when you deal with YouTube and you deal with punishments, if you don't understand what's going on, don't worry. I don't think they understand either. That's not a joke. That's not snark. That's truth. Whenever you're dealing with violations in the YouTube world, the first violation you might get is a content ID claim. So if you use music in a video, if you use, again, intellectual property in video, essentially there's an automated system and your video may get claimed based off of using that intellectual property, and essentially what happens is your ad revenue then goes to whoever claimed it. There's a whole process for going and dealing with this if it happens. Generally, what's supposed to happen is that it's just a smack on the hand and you lose the revenue for that particular video, worst case scenario. The problem is, again, they don't understand the rules. They don't understand the rules. So I did a reaction video. I did a reaction video to the Worldwide Developer Conference a couple of years ago. You know, Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference. And so I got a content ID claim against it. I was sitting there, I was building little Arduino cars for a project that I was going to do. I just figured, okay, I have to do this. Worldwide Developer Conference is on. I will do a reaction video while I'm building these stupid little Arduino cards. So Apple put a content ID claim on that video. Fine, whatever. It wasn't going to make a lot of money anyway. But then they put a global block with global block option. What does that mean? What does that mean? Who knows? Who knows? Google didn't really know. So within their whole system, they didn't really explain what a global block actually was. For me, what it meant is something that was supposed to be a smack on the hand prevented me from doing live streaming for 90 days. To be clear, they did not tell me what the punishment was going to be. They didn't really tell me what I could do about it. When you looked at the description of what this was supposed to be, they told me basically it was supposed to be a smack on the hand, but I got 90 days of not being able to live stream. So content ID claims, do be careful with it. Community strikes. So community strike, this is basically, it's not about copyright. This is if you do medical misinformation. This is if you do hate speech, things like that. Basically, if you say horrible, nasty words on YouTube that is against whatever the mainstream narrative is currently supposed to be, you can get a community strike. If you get a community strike, the first community strike you get is for 7 days. You cannot upload anything. Second community strike is for 14 days. You cannot upload anything. The third community strike you get within 90 days and your channel is gone. These community strikes last for 90 days and then they expire. If you get 3 community strikes within 90 days, your channel is gone. One of the problems we run into with the community strike system is, again, how they deal with this is absolutely horrible. Topically right now, what's going on in the real world with social media is like on Facebook. Facebook was punishing people that were saying that COVID was a man-made virus. So they were saying that was medical misinformation all the way up until a couple of days ago. And now all of a sudden, Facebook has decided that saying COVID is a man-made virus is no longer medical misinformation because the science grew a third eyeball. I don't know, right? That's one of the problems we're dealing with all these platforms is, again, how they deal with these rules is just abysmal. Then you have the copyright strike. I've thought about this before. If you're really doing gross violations of copyright, taking entire songs, taking entire movies, taking entire shows, taking massive chunks, putting it on there, you can't get a copyright strike. Again, same thing with the same punishment. 7 days for the first copyright strike, 2 weeks for the second copyright strike, your channel gone with the third copyright strike. One of the things to be thinking about when you start doing these videos is to consider who you are talking to when you're doing these videos. Create a mental image of the person that you're talking to. So just think about, like, when you're talking to somebody, again, as I say, I think I'm talking to a CEO. I imagine that I'm talking to a CEO, and that's how I try to have the conversation. One of the things problems you might run into when you have this mental image of who you're talking to is who you think you're talking to and who is actually watching the video might be a mismatch. One of the big reasons a lot of people on YouTube hate me is because I come from the decision maker, the business owner, the technology professional point of view, which, isn't always the politest, isn't always the nicest. And so one of the problems is a lot of noobs, right? A lot of noobs that want to go out there and get their A+ certification. They come to Eli, the computer guy, to learn how to get their A+ certification, and then they get me, and they get their feelings hurt. Right, so when I started creating my videos, I was creating my videos for technology professionals and decision makers. Unfortunately, a lot of times the people that are watching the videos aren't those folks, and it all kind of goes to hell. I don't know, what is the solution here? I don't know what the solution is here. It's just one of those things to keep in mind. When we think about doing videos on YouTube, there's a whole question of honesty and transparency, and the answer is no. No. Don't be honest. Don't be transparent. What the hell's wrong with you, stupid? I don't know. YouTube is supposed to be about be the authentic you. That's a lie. That's garbage. Don't. Like for me, no one needs to see my wife, right? So I've been doing videos since 2009, and so one of the big things that especially comes up in the YouTube world is, when are we going to see your wife? Never. Never, ever, ever. If I had my druthers, never, ever, ever, and a day after that, right? Again, I do technology videos, I do business videos, I do other videos. There's no reason to see my dog. The only reason any of my viewers know what the hell my dog looks like is because all dogs like to be on YouTube. I don't know what it is. It's like a weird thing in their evolution. They all demand to be on YouTube. I had Tex, a corgi. Every time I started talking to a camera, he popped in the camera. I didn't think he knew what a camera was, but he knew there was something that I was talking to and he wanted to be in it. So anyways, I gave up the argument on my pets. Dogs, you will see. My wife, there is no reason to see. Why in the world am I going to show you my wife? That just seems stupid to me. Again, like when we talk about with Boogie2988 and having somebody show up at his doorstep, like, why are you doing a house tour? You're doing videos about technology, you're doing videos about business, you're doing videos about makeup. Why are you doing a house tour? Do you think these people are your friends? Do you think YouTube viewers are your friends? They're not. They're not. I will show my friends my house. My friends obviously will know my wife. YouTube viewers don't need to see any of that crap. Because I don't want some yahoo showing up at my doorstep one day, bugging the hell out of my wife, because then things will go bad. Because I do know when I'm allowed to use a weapon. Just saying. Just saying, alright? Things to think about. When you're talking about people, again, we talk about transparencies, create characters. When I talk about my wife is not my wife. My wife used to get into a lot of arguments when I would talk about her on the videos, and one day she just stopped arguing with me. I was like, oh wow, this is nice. Why are you no longer arguing with me? And she said, oh, I realized the wife that you're talking about on your videos is not me. She's like, as soon as I realized that, then I don't care anymore. And it really is kind of true. Like, the wife that I talk about is a character. It's a character that has many similarities to my actual wife, but is not my actual wife. And so that's one of the ways that you can talk about people without giving too much. Just things to think about. Again, viewers are not your friends. Viewers are not your friends. What are viewers? Not your friends! Thank you. Viewers are not your friends. Create boundaries for your topics. Figure out what you are willing to talk about, what you're not willing to talk about. I don't want to do a house tour. I don't want to show you my wife. I don't want to talk about money anymore. Again, I used to talk about money on YouTube simply because in the tech world, right, whether you make $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $400 an hour, a lot of times it's the same amount of work. A lot of times it's the same but good for society. It's just how much society is willing to pay for it. I used to talk about money more. But then YouTube gets really weird when you talk about money, it gets really stupid, and I just realized at a certain point it wasn't getting me anywhere. So you don't need to know what the hell my portfolio looks like. You don't need to know what else that I'm doing. I do YouTube. I do Silicon Dojo. Done. Done. We don't need to have any more conversation than that. Again, it's one of those things to think about is the boundaries that you're going to put up there. When you start talking about things on YouTube, can you articulate why you are saying what you're saying? Are you saying something because it allows you to drive home the point of a story? Are you saying something in order to expound upon why your device is important? Or are you saying something because you want the YouTube viewers to like you? If it's the last one, stop! They're not going to like you. They're not your friends. They're YouTube video viewers. Getting advice, when you're going to get advice for doing YouTube videos, doing your channel, talk with peers, talk with other people that are in the YouTube space. There's a lot of folks out there in the YouTube space that are willing to talk. Sit down and have conversations. You may not agree with everything that they say, but you can toss ideas around. Again, I talk about talking with Lewis, I've talked with Barnacles in the past, I've talked with many other YouTubers. You sit there, they discuss what they're doing, you discuss what you're doing, you grab what you think is valuable, you dump what you think is dumb. Again, being able to talk with your peers, especially in the YouTube world, can be a very valuable thing. Remember why you're doing what you're doing. Again, when you start doing YouTube videos, it's very easy to start going down the rabbit hole of insanity, of following, trying to get friends or trying to get subscribers or trying to be cool or whatever on YouTube. That's not a good way to go. Remember why you're on YouTube. Remember why you're trying to do what you're doing. Remember why you think you're valuable for doing what you're doing, and then just keep doing that, right? Again, they're not your friends. They're not your friends. They're not your friends. Talk with your viewers, but give it all a grain of salt. Again, an important thing is to look at your comments, have communication with your viewers, see what they're saying that is valuable, and see what they're saying, and then ignore the stuff that isn't valuable. For my viewers, every once in a while I screw up, and when I do edit a video, I forget to cut something out, or I screw up the audio, or whatever else. Like, listening to that from my viewers can be a very valuable thing. If my viewers give me advice about a new type of technology I should talk about, that is a very valuable thing. If they say, something, again, too much ambient noise, maybe hearing the motorcycle outside right now, that might be a valuable thing. But then again, you got a lot of YouTubers, again, there's something wrong with them. Screwed up in the head. So screwed up in the head. Right, and so they'll give you a lot of advice that's just garbage. Again, like, I'll sit there and again, as I say, I'll talk with Lewis, and it's funny, we'll get advice from our viewers that's just wrong, right? You should do more of X, Y, or Z video. And then you do more of X, Y, or Z video, and nobody watches it. Again, it's kind of like porn. It's kind of weird. Nobody watches porn, and yet porn is a gazillion-dollar a year business. How is porn a gazillion-dollar a year business when nobody watches it? Oh, maybe a lot of people watch it, they just don't want to admit to it. Same thing is true in the YouTube world. What people want and what people actually watch, and what they say they want, is not the same thing. So when you're talking to your viewers, be careful what they say. Copy other creators. Again, when Casey Neistat came out a few years ago with his particular video style, a lot of people copied Casey Neistat. And here's the thing, a lot of them were successful. Copying in the YouTube world is a good thing, right? People start doing reaction videos, other people copy the reaction videos, a lot of people make a lot of money. People do prank videos, the whole 9 yards. See what is currently successful, and then copy that. Copy other people in the YouTube world is not a bad thing. And then finally, stats, and stats. So whenever you create your YouTube channel, you're going to get your YouTube analytics. Take a look at those YouTube analytics and see what people are actually consuming, how long they're consuming for. Do you get a lot of views but very short view time? They come in because of a clickbait title and then they don't care after 10 seconds. Do you have other things where you get a lot of views and a lot of view time? Do you have other things where there's not many views but a lot of view time? Where are people watching from? Take a look at all those stats and then base the content that you're going to be creating off of the stats. The stats, I'm not saying that, the stats don't lie. But I don't know. The stats aren't perfect. To be clear, stats are not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than listening to the viewers. I'll listen to my stats any day of the week over most of my viewers. I'm not supposed to say that, I suppose. Anyways, moderation bots. So let's talk about the bots. So there's moderation bots, there's recommendation bots, and there's monetization bots. Your life is going to be driven by the bots in the YouTube world. With moderation bots, one of the things you have to realize is wrong speak in title. So moderation bots, they're the ones that give you community strikes and that kind of thing. Again, they're supposed to be really advanced AI. Seems like they just look at the titles. I can say the most obnoxious crap in the middle of a 2-hour video and nobody will ever notice. I put something in a title that the bot doesn't like and it all goes to hell. So don't say bad words in your title. Hollow hoax. I got a community strike for saying the word hollow hoax. I did a video talking about why doing blacklist bans wouldn't work. When it came to words like hollow hoax was in the title, I got a community strike. As a person that is not Jewish, but does get a hell of a lot of anti-Semitic hate on YouTube, I was talking about the problems with trying to ban anti-Semitic words on YouTube, and I literally got a strike for trying to explain what the problem is. So again, COVID, hollow hoax, those types of things, just don't put those in the titles. Bad titles are bad. Also remember, when there's a human reviewer, it's most likely an Indian human reviewer. I don't mean that to be an insult, a pejorative insult. I love India. I was in India for 4 months, backpacking through India. I love I love Indian food and the whole 9 yards. Yay, I actually like Bollywood every once in a while. But here's the problem, like the last community strike, I got 3 community strikes in 5 months for not breaking the rules. The last community strike I got was because I said I was going to get the vaccine. My business, Silicon Dojo, was going to follow CDC guidelines, and that I was a little concerned that I was going to get a third eyeball. Literally, since I made the joke that I might get a third eyeball, that was medical misinformation. I have no idea how you actually grow a third eyeball. If I had said I was going to get scabies or a rash or something like that, maybe I could understand medical misinformation. Literally, I said third eyeball. And the human reviewer said that was medical misinformation. So that's something to keep in mind. You got the recommendation bots. The recommendation bots, these are the bots that will recommend your videos to the rest of the YouTube world. These are the things your channel is going to live and die by. The more your videos are clicked, the more they are going to be recommended. So if your video pops up, people click on the video, then more of your videos will be recommended to them. So this is something to think about. Again, the more videos you put out, the worse you may end up doing. Are your titles clickable? If it's something that people want to click on, then you'll get more clicks, will be better for the recommendation engine. Thumbnails. Are thumbnails good? Are thumbnails bad? It's a bit of an argument. There's a guy called Sticks and Hammer. He basically turns on his little smartphone, he talks into it, he turns it off, he uploads it, he doesn't do any thumbnails. He gets like 80,000 views per video. Other people do really fancy thumbnails and don't get any views. So people say you should do thumbnails. It's kind of a flip of the coin based off of whatever it is. Fewer videos can be better, as I said. Do a good description in your video. So if you're going to do PowerPoint presentations, kind of like what I'm doing, you take the outline, you copy the text of the outline, you paste it into the description of your video, and then the advanced AI of the recommendation bot will understand your video better. Monetization bots. So basically monetization bots determine whether or not you can fully monetize your video, whether it'll be not suitable for all advertisers, or will there be no advertising on your video at all. Basically this has a lot to do with wrong speaking titles. You put COVID in the title, you put hollow hoax in the title. Again, they're very advanced AI. Will read the text in your title, look at what appears to be a blacklist filter, and if the words in the title match the blacklist filter, then you'll get penalized. So be careful with titles. Again, your title is the most important thing. Titles and thumbnails, that's the easiest thing for these things to parse, so just be careful there. YouTube creator versus a content creator. I would argue in the modern world you should be a content creator. Again, I believed in YouTube in the past. One of the reasons I'm so spurned, one of the reasons I'm so snarky is because I believe in YouTube. Did. Not anymore. Anyways, so a lot of us thought we were going to be YouTube creators. We thought we were going to be on this platform for 20 years talking about the old days, 2009. And then we had a CEO that kind of lost her damn mind. Anyway, so something to be thinking about now is when you do videos on YouTube, you're just doing videos, right? I'm creating a video, I can put this video onto YouTube, I can put this video onto Odyssey, I can put this video onto Facebook, I can put this video onto Twitter, I can put this video onto so many other platforms. Do you really want to be a YouTube creator, or do you want to be a content creator? A content creator is thinking about how to sell and monetize basically with the content on any platform that they're able to monetize on. So creators have a business that goes beyond YouTube. You can sell on podcasts, you can use Vimeo, you can do Odyssey and Library and Facebook and all of that kind of stuff. So this is something to think about. Build a business beyond YouTube. Again, if you're going to get onto YouTube, remember everything can be taken away from you in a heartbeat. They have an insane algorithm that doesn't understand what's going on, and you're going to get a review from some Indian somewhere that doesn't understand American humor. So realize it can be taken all away. So you have to be thinking about how you're going to be building your business beyond YouTube. Again, Silicon Dojo. One of the reasons that I'm doing this is I realize where YouTube is going. So you can sell events. Again, events like this. Meets and meet and greets. People actually pay for that type of thing. You sell podcasts. So maybe you create content that's a podcast and you put it behind a paywall. So with Podbean, you can charge a monthly fee in order to get your podcast. OnlyFans, or something along the lines of OnlyFans, right? Some kind of app that allows your people to get in touch with you for an amount of money. Twitch is another thing out there, creating books, that type of deal. As far as play buttons go, play buttons are considered a big deal in the YouTube world. Play buttons! So I have two. I actually have two play buttons. One for the Eli the Computer Guy channel and one for Eli Computer Guy Live channel. When I first got my 100K play button way back when, in like 2012 or whatever, it was a nice metal frame, it was a nice glass front to it. I got this DSLR fanny pack thing. They sent me like a $500 gift certificate to B&H Photo. Back then they sent me a letter and they said, we appreciate what you've done for the YouTube platform and we want to show you how much we appreciate what you've done. That was very nice. My next my next silver play button I got for the Eli Computer Guy live channel. It had a plastic front to it. It had a cheap wooden frame to it, and that was all. That was it. And then about a year ago, I got over the 1 million subscriber count for my main YouTube channel, and they just refused to send me a gold button. I've literally contacted them and just said, hey, when am I getting my gold play button? And they said, contact us later. It's under our discretion. So one of the things to think about with play buttons is it's actually truly under their discretion. And they really do mean that. So 100K gets you a silver play button, 1 mil gets you a gold play button, 10 mil theoretically gets you a diamond play button, but it is at YouTube's discretion. I've been on the platform since 2009. I have trained an amazing number of people to become better technology professionals, the whole 9 yards, and YouTube refuses to give me a gold play button. Why? Who the hell knows? The future of YouTube. My bet on the future of YouTube, I think it's going to be the world's biggest startup fail. Basically, Google purchased YouTube years and years and years ago. I don't think it works. As a technology professional, as somebody that built my own little video infrastructure years ago, when you start looking at the numbers, I don't think that there is a future in YouTube. I think this is going to be the biggest startup burn-in that we have ever seen. Basically, remember, Google purchased YouTube, and then once Google purchased YouTube, they were able to dump a lot of money into YouTube without really having to tell anybody what the hell was going on. Google spends a lot of money on additional projects that don't actually bring money into YouTube proper. Google search just is a cash cow. That cash cow goes into a lot of other ventures. I have a feeling at some point we are going to see the books of YouTube, and they are going to be a gosh darn disaster. There's no shame in profiting off of someone else's checkbook. Look, YouTube's going to fail. I'll make money till they do. My main YouTube channel still brings me money. Not as much money as it used to. Hell, not as much money as probably 3 months ago before they started punishing me. But it still brings them money. Do I think YouTube is successful? No. Do I think it's really profitable? No. Will I take the checks? Will I take the money they deposit into my account? Hell yes. And this is something to think about with all these platforms. There's a guy that was on Shark Tank, and he talked about that with Uber back in the day, and he was like, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to invest in Uber. But if those dumbass VCs in Silicon Valley will subsidize my taxi ride in New York, I'll take an Uber. If somebody else wants to pay 50% of my taxi ride because they feel like they're an investor, fuck it, right? I would say the same thing is true with YouTube. It's not dead yet. Keep going. But YouTube will die, but the lessons are valuable. The point that I would make is Jake Paul. Whether or not you like Jake Paul or hate Jake Paul started with Vine. Vine got bought by Twitter, and then Twitter killed it for some reason. Went over to YouTube, made $1 gazillion off of YouTube. He's now doing boxing. He's now making a lot of money boxing, Class C boxers. He was able to roll with the times, and argue that would be the thing, be a content creator, be a business person. Are there YouTube alternatives? There are. Again, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Twitch. There's all kinds of other places you can do videos. I would say match the problem with the platform. So if you're going to be doing things like news videos, you might want to go for Facebook. If you want to do live shows, you might want to go with Twitch. The whole 9 yards. Think about it. YouTube is kind of like the dumping ground for all videos. If you're going to go someplace else, give it a little bit more thought. Like, what video actually works on this particular platform? We talk about alt tech. Alt tech is library. Alt tech is BitChute. Alt tech is Steam.io and that type of thing. What's my opinion on alt tech? That. I don't know what to say about alt tech. FTC compliance. I own stock in library apparently. I actually have a lot of library credits. I was one of the first people to get in the library apparently. Yeah, I don't really care. I check library like every month just to see if it's still there. Oh, hold on 1 second. So I have a wife in the room that you're not allowed to see. Oh, look at that. We got a puppy dog. Can I have a puppy dog? You see, these are 1/10. Oh, here we go. Oh, puppy dog was like, where's Daddy at? See, when you say, does Eli really do 1 takes? Oh, hell yes. Look, this is my little chihuahua. So apparently my little video here is going on longer than it should have. And so my wife is like, where are you? And so now she's sitting here so she can look at me and say, come on now, it's date night. Anywho. Again, when I'm doing these videos, these are these little PowerPoint presentation videos. The point is, with these particular videos, just to kind of give you a director's cut of what's happening. So I'm not going to cut out a puppy. Because this is worth it. This is worth the entire time of being here. But anyways, as I say, I own a lot of stock in a library. I still don't use it. I just don't think there's enough the value in these alt-tech platforms. There's not enough traffic on these alt-tech platforms. It's really important to understand. When I talk about when I talk about YouTube being a drug, you know, that's not a joke. That's not like some kind of, you know, whatever snark. It really is a drug. There's something about when you get onto YouTube, how they've created that platform, it keeps you embedded into the system. And it's something nobody else has been able to replicate. One of the big things to realize when you do YouTube is it is a real job. A lot of people have this idea when you go to YouTube, it's not a real job. It is a real job. Oh, this is harsh. See, last night I had 2 kids there when I was talking about that whole porn thing, and now I have my wife sitting there as I'm about to talk about the argument I got into with my wife. Oh my golly, I'm just getting in all kinds of trouble doing these videos. Anyway, one of the arguments I got into with my wife a while ago, because my wife and I always get into the stupidest arguments. We don't get into real arguments, we get into dumbass arguments. Anyways, so I remember this one time when YouTube was really screwing with me, and I was all pissed off. And then my wife, you know, one that's sitting right there. Anyway, my wife kind of was like, yeah, I just don't understand this, Eli. Eli, you know, you've done work, you know, you've got all this education, you've put all this time and energy into this, and I mean, it's not like you're one of these gamers. And I still remember I looked at my wife, and I was like, do not insult the gamers. The gamers work twice as hard as I ever will. And it is one of those funny things, like when you look at the Let's Players and you look at the gamers, and you look at somebody like me, it's really easy to dismiss the gamers. It's like, oh, they're only playing games, that's not a real job. I will tell you, those Let's Players, those gamers work 5 times as hard as I have in a really long time. If you look at Ninja, Tyler Bevins, right? He is a multi-millionaire, he's made a lot of money. But if you look at the amount of work he puts in to make that money, it's a lot of work. That guy works 8 to 10 hours a day. His work happens to be playing a video game, but he works his ass off. And so this is one of the issues we do get into in the real world of doing YouTube videos, is there's kind of this idea of like, well, it's not a real job. Yes it is. Oh yes, I am balancing it. How to start? Basically how to start is you just do it. Again, years ago, I started doing videos, didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how lighting worked, I didn't know how sound worked, I didn't know how any of this crap worked. I just started doing it, and at a certain point it became successful for me. Again, you are going to learn what works for you. You know, do you need a better camera? You're going to know you're going to need a better camera if you look at the quality of the video and you think it's crap. You're going to know you're going to need a better computer for video editing when you go to edit your video and it takes you an hour to do anything, right? So basically, as you're doing stuff, you're going to figure out what is valuable to you and what is not. A camera might be very valuable to you, and a microphone is not. A computer may be very valuable to you, but the camera is not. It depends on, you know, what you're doing. Find inspiration when you're trying to figure out what to do. Find inspiration and advice from other YouTubers. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there. Everybody talks about what they're doing. Again, they lie about it. Take it with a grain of salt, but there's a lot of inspiration you can have. Again, when you think about what you can do in the real world, let me open up this particular link. And this is one of the videos I did years ago, and as you can see, it's got 124,000 subscribers to it, and basically it's just a white face. You see a floating face with maybe a floating hard drive half the time. Anatomy to a computer. It's one of the first videos that I ever did. The audio sucks, the video sucks, the lighting, can't really see anything. But, you know, you start that, and 10 years later you can be sitting in front of a video camera yourself with a little chihuahua trying to teach the world how YouTube works. So that's the basic idea of how to become a YouTube content creator. I hope this little seminar was very valuable for you. Again, this being the director's cut of the seminar, what I would argue for the people that have watched is think about how you can use what I've talked about in this particular video in your particular circumstances, thinking about how you can, you know, do a video or seminar about what you're doing professionally. If you're a professional engineer, think about how you can do a video about being a professional engineer or a software developer or those types of things. So with that, I'm going to call it a day, because apparently I have been working too long. I get sent the chihuahua. The mafia puts like a dead horse head in your bed if you do something bad. When you get married, you get a cuddly chihuahua sent to your door. So I need to go, and I will see you folks hopefully at the next video.